Let's do breakdown.
German siya kay Steph. Dito lang sa atin.
Tapos kung
Counting. You want to count properly. And after that, we'll continue with the measures of association. What do we use to find out whether two things are associated with their exposure or associated with the non-count? Okay, so these are our mission objectives. We have three broad categories of measurements: measure of business frequency, measure of association, and measure of potential impact. We're not going to discuss measure of potential impact in this course. We will just limit the discussion on the basic ones: business frequency measures and measures of association. Now, if you look at this slide, I'm not sure if you can read this. This just presents a summary of all the measures that we use in. Don't worry, I will be discussing the measures of business frequency and the measures of association. Because what we want you to be able to do at the end of the session is for you to differentiate between prevalence and incidence. Okay, in the media, they are used interchangeably. But if you have sat in an empty course like this one, it's a mortality if you cannot differentiate between the two. They are not the same, prevalence and incidence. And given a set of data, you should be able to compute and interpret a prevalence measure and an incidence measure. For the measures of association, at the end of this course, you should be able to cast data in a contingency table because that's a basic framework for analyzing associations. So given a set of data, you should be able to compute and interpret the appropriate measure. Okay, so we said that epidemiology concerned with distribution, occurrence distribution, and determinants. So counts, counting cases, counting people with exposure, counting in general is very important. Now, counts per se, the absolute number of occurrence or cases of a condition in a specified population, is not really very useful unless that count is expressed as a relative measure. So ano ba ang count? 100 COVID cases in QC, 100 is a count. 800 cases of COVID in Las Piñas, it's a count. Okay? So if I ask you, is the burden of COVID higher in Quezon City than in Las Piñas? Can you tell? Saan mas maraming cases in terms between the two cities? So it appears that 100 definitely is bigger than 800. But do we know the population of QC? Quickly, can you search? What's the population of QC? And what's the population of Las Piñas? Because if you make the conclusion that there are more cases of COVID cases in QC than in Las Piñas, it can be misleading. Because it's fine if the underlying population is the same for both. There were 1,000 cases in Quezon City with a population of 1 million and 800 cases in Las Piñas out of 1 million population. Then the conclusion is valid. Okay, so sino nakahanap? What's the population of QC? 2.9 and 3 million. QC. What about Las Piñas? 500 or 600,000. So, valid ba to say na ang mas malala ang COVID sa Quezon City kaysa Las Piñas? Hindi, kasi it's 1,000 out of 3 billion. 800 underlying population, and you made a conclusion na mas problema ang COVID sa Quezon City, then baka hindi valid yung conclusion. Okay? So, while counts is the first step, bibilang muna talaga tayo. For count to be useful, you have to express it as relative to the size of the other. So, it has to be compared with another number, which is the population. So, sabi ko dyan, 10,000, kung 1,000 over, pagkala silang 10,000, then it's fine. The COVID in Quezon City is 10%, COVID in Las Piñas is 8%. But as you very well know, magkaiba nga ang population. Tama na mas malaki ang QC. Okay, so kinakailangan, when we make comparisons between or among population groups, dapat they are expressed in relative measures. And when you say relative measure, one relative measure is relating the cases with the underlying population. Relating the cases relative to the number of people at risk of disease. So, counts, we have problems with counts. So, dito utility siya, epidemiology, kasi siya gagamitin. Okay? So, valid comparison between groups cannot be made when underlying populations differ, and risk of disease cannot be determined for members of various groups by just referring to the counts. Kinakailangan, it is expressed as a relative measure, which will make use of course, make use of counts. So the number of events or the count should be expressed, should be described in the context of the population and even time. If you say, for example, that 200 cases developed over a period of 1 month versus 2 cases developed over a period of 1 year, ano kaiba yun? Di ba? Kinakailangan malinaw na valid ang ating comparison with respect to the underlying population even with time. Because if we have relative measures, then we can make valid comparisons between populations, between time points, and we can identify risk of disease. Because as you will learn later on, the incidence of disease is synonymous with risk of disease. If you're able to compute the incidence of disease to be 2%, then the risk of developing disease is 2% over a certain period, depending on the time used in the computation of the incidence measure. So examples of incidence measures are the ratio, the proportion, and the rate. Now, when we compute for incidence, a relative measure, we multiply that by a factor of 10 for ease of comparison. For example, if you have 58 cases out of 25,000, it's 0.00234. Sorry, 0.00232. We multiply that by a factor. The factor is any multiple of 10. Usually, we use a multiple of 10 that will make our relative measure a whole number. Okay? Like here, 0.02 per 100 is correct. 2.32 per 1,000 is also correct. They mean the same thing, right? 23.2 per 10,000 is also correct. 232 per 100,000 is also correct. So it's a decision you have to make, but you have to use the same factor for the groups that you're comparing. Now there are some measures, vital statistical measures or health statistical measures that have standard factors. For example, maternal mortality ratio. Anywhere in the world, what do you use? Who are from the OECD? 100,000. Okay. So even if you do not specify 100,000, it's understood if you did the computation properly, then it's per 100,000. Live births, ilan? Per? What factor do you use to report live births? Per? Infant deaths rather. Infant deaths is expressed as number of deaths among children less than 1 year old divided by the number of So ano yung ating denominator? I-multiply natin yung denominator by what multiple of 100? It's 1,000. So may mga standard. May mga standard. But generally, pwede yung bumibili. Basta pareho lang gagamitin nyo ng factor for the groups that you're comparing. So, ano lang, rule of thumb is you select a value so that the smallest value of the measure is bigger than 1. Hindi lang kasi mag-usap ng tao ng 0.00, di ba? Tama pa rin naman. Pero mas maganda siguro na bigger than 1. Or use available standards. Sige, so let's discuss what a ratio is. The ratio is an expression of the relative frequency of occurrence of some event compared to some other events. So ratio, parang the numerator and denominator, that's already a ratio. So you divide one quantity by another quantity, and these two quantities are not necessarily related to each other. Okay, so the formula for ratio is A over B. Just ignore that. A is the number of persons with a characteristic of interest to you. B is the number of persons with characteristics different from A. And of course, your factor is your A. So let's look at this hypothetical population of 20 people. We examined each one of them, and we found how many with diabetes. There are five of them. So if they ask you what is the ratio of diabetes to non-diabetic individuals in this population, it's, what's your numerator? 5. The diabetes is 5. What's your denominator? 15. So that's your ratio. Yung sex ratio, paano natin dinidivide yung basic guys? Number of males divided by, the numerator is males, denominator is females. So pag meron kang sex ratio na 100, that means there are 100 males for every 100 females. So parang 1:1. Pagka 50, sabihin, there are 50 males for every 100 females. So that's the ratio. So simple lang siya. Ratio is a expression of two numbers. The numerator and the denominator. What is a proportion? It's an expression or numerical representation for a particular part of a whole. So parang it's a slice of a pie. Okay, that's your proportion. So it's actually a ratio. Proportion is a type of ratio. Hindi ko sabi natin ratio, divide ka lang, numerator data and denominator data. But the difference is, it is now talking about a part of the whole. So, what is the proportion of diabetes in this population of 20 people? The formula is A, refers to the number of people with a characteristic of interest. And we said, for example, our interest here is the number of people with diabetes. And our denominator would be A plus B, the number of people in the group. And if you are all familiar with this, if you multiply the proportion by 100, you get as percentage, right? Per 100. But you can also have a proportion that is per 1,000, per 100,000. If you use 100 as the factor for your proportion, then you refer to it as a percentage. Alright, here, so what is the proportion of diabetes in this population? What's the numerator? 5. The denominator? 20. So see the difference between just the ratio of diabetes to non-diabetes and the proportion of diabetes in this population of 20 people. Okay, questions so far? What is a rate? A rate is an expression of the relationship between an event and a population at risk over a given interval of time. So, merong time factor ang rate. So, it's used with the population, when the population is dynamic or with varying observation points. So, the formula I will explain that later on. The formula is A, which A represents the number of affected individuals in a given time interval, while your X is referred to as person time or person population time. That's the time the population is at risk for a particular event. And again, the K is any number of with base 10, any multiple of 10. So let's look at the method of determining the denominator person time. So you're following up 5 people for say development of a disease within a 10-year interval. You have 5 people, persons A, B, C, D, and E. Now person A was observed for a total of 6 years. Person B was also observed for a total of 6 years, but notice that their start of observation differs, and their end time of observation also differs. That's what we mean by dynamic population. So applicable ang rate, you are studying a dynamic population. Meaning to say you're observing a group of people with varying observation points. Kasi yung opposite of dynamic is fixed population. So you want to follow them up for 6 years or for 10 years, all of them should be followed up for 10 years. But that's not always possible. So you use the rate, and your denominator will be person population time. So what is the formula for person time? It's the sum of the individual follow-up times. So here, you intended to follow them up for 10 years, but the reality is, okay, in this example, baka magaling yung 5, but when you're doing an actual research of hundreds and thousands of people, it might be difficult to assemble them all at the same time and observe them for an equal number of time. So they are enrolled in the study now, then you start your observation, and next month you find another qualified participant to join the study, then that's going to be the start time of the observation of participant number 2. Okay, so they have varying observation times, they have varying start and end times. That's a dynamic population. So our denominator for that will not be the total number of people observed, because it's going to be misleading. Bakit siya misleading? Kasi hindi naman talaga sila na-observe uniformly for 10 years. Some were observed for a short period of time. Others were observed for the full precise duration of 10 years. Alright. So 6 plus 6 plus 10 plus 8.5 plus 5 is 35.5. So in this hypothetical example of a community of 5 people, what is our rate of disease? What's the 10-year disease rate? Sira yung formula dito sa computer. Meron ba talaga akong formula? Ano siya? Mukhang may compatibility yung aking PowerPoint. Ginawa ko sa Mac at saka yung presentation. So, what is, anyway, magandang naman siya exercise. Ano yung numerator na yan? Which is, how many have condition? 2. And what is the denominator? What is it? 35. And nandiyan pa sa inyo, ako ang wala. Oo nga. Hindi na pala siya. Exercise. Ako ang mag-exercise. Sige. So, dividing with the two numbers, you have 5.6 cases for every 100 person years of observation, or 56 cases for every 1,000 person years of observation. It is say 5 cases for every 100 persons. No. It's also incorrect to say 56 cases for every 1,000 persons. Mali. You're saying 5.6 cases for every 100 person years. And you know how you computed for the person years? It's the sum of the individual follow-ups. So that's just an introduction to refresh your memories about the ratio, the proportion, and the rate. So let's now go to the main topic, which is the different measures of disease frequency, because we make use of these measures, relative measures, rate, and proportion. Okay, so there are two main types of disease frequency measures. We have the incidence measure and the prevalence measure. What's the difference? Incidence measures the occurrence of disease in a population over a period of time. So there's a follow-up component. Whereas prevalence measures existing cases of a disease at a particular point in time. So if you do a survey, if I run a survey, for example, now, and ask you whether you're a smoker or not, then what I get is prevalence of smoking. If I want to determine incidence of smoking, I will have to follow up who among you, those of you who are non-smokers. And during a certain period of time, throughout the 5 modules of people, hindi ka nanigawin yun, hirap ng people, stress mo sa people, nagsimula ka nanigawin. So if that's what I want, incidence of cigarette smoking among people participants, then I would have to identify who among you are non-smokers. I will follow up the non-smokers over a period of time, and then count how many new cases of smoking or smokers there are. That's incidence. Prevalence para snapshot mo yun. Bilangin ko ilan sa inyo ngayon kung meron ng characteristic of interest. How many of you have hypertension? Bilangin ko ngayon. By one incidence of hypertension, I have to observe disease-free individuals or people who do not have a characteristic of interest to me during a specified period of time, and then I count how many new cases there are. And how long is the follow-up time? Hindi siya arbitrary number. You have to refer, if it's an infectious disease, you look at the incubation period of the disease. Hindi pwedeng type ko lang, 2 araw ko lang titingnan, or 2 araw. If the incubation period is, say, 2 weeks, we don't observe them for 2 weeks. Those without the disease are observed for 2 weeks, and you count how many new cases there are during this 2-week period. Sige, let's go to the exercise. On pre-employment physical examination of vaccine, 1% were found to be positive for TB. Prevalence or incidence? Prevalence, that's correct. 30 of the 200 children who attended a birthday party developed signs and symptoms of food poisoning. Incidence, correct. 20% of all hospital admissions in Hospital X are CHD cases. Prevalence, incidence, gaano ka prevalence, how many people in the population have the disease? Dito ba alam natin na hindi na-admit na iba ay walang sa hospital admission of CHP cases? Na-confine sila. Pero there may be other, like for example, vehicular accident cases. Admitted sila for trauma. Inaalam ba yun kung may hypertension sila o wala? So, it's neither. Neither. Because incidence and prevalence require you to examine each and every one to find out how many of them have the condition of the disease or prevalence. For incidence, you also have to examine each and every one after the follow-up period if they develop the disease. So this is simply a what? In terms of the generic relative measures, ano siya? Ratio proportion rate. It's a proportion. Good. It's a proportion. 10% of inmates at prison X have PPP at discharge. Incidence prevalent. Incidence ba siya? Exact ano tayo, data insufficient to answer the questions. Did it say that these are new cases? Pwede naman they had TB upon admission or upon entry to the prison, and they continue to have TB when they were discharged. Binilang lang ng TB. So it's not incidence. Is it a prevalence? Yes. Kasi sa lahat ng discharge, binilang nila. Ilan ang may TB. So hindi siya incidence, but it is a prevalence. For them to say 10%, ibig sabihin, they identified for every discharge who has TB. 15% of women screened for cervical cancer tested positive. What's that? 15% of women screened for cervical cancer tested positive. Incidence, ibig sabihin, yung cases sila, pinalo-up sila. But when you go for screening, hindi naman alam kung bago yung yun or hindi, di ba? And you don't have the time of observation. Basta on screening, they have cervical cancer. So what's that? Prevalence. Prevalence yan. Sige, so, tingnan natin. You have more or less good grasp of the concept of prevalence and incidence. But additional discussion, natulong mas ma-clarify tayo. So, prevalence refers to existing cases of disease at a specific point in time. And this point can be a calendar time. Ngayon, gagawin ko. Okay? O ginawa mong January. But it can also determine prevalence by age. What is the prevalence of osteoporosis among senior citizens? So that will necessitate examining all senior citizens and find out how many of them have osteoporosis. That's also prevalence of osteoporosis among the senior citizens. So that's the age. There's a third one. Pareho na nire-refer ng point na yun. Fixed point in the course of events that varies in real time from person to person. Like entrance to high school. Magkaiba tayo ng time to enter high school. But if you want to find out how many of those who enter high school, for example, are smokers, then that's smoking prevalence. I entered high school, si Doc nag-enter ng high school relatively recently. Iba-iba tayo ng calendar time when you enter high school. Pero meron tayong fixed point. Entering high school. So we can present the prevalence of smoking among high school entrants. Ito din. You can also determine the prevalence of infection on the third post-op day. Ang iyong fixed point din ay pangatlong post-op day. Iba-iba silang time na operahan sila, but you want to find out, on the third post-op day, meron bang infection? So, bibilangin natin kung many of those who were operated on had post-op infection on the third post-operative day. But if you want to determine incidence of post-operative infection among all the surgical cases, ano gagawin niyo? Ito walang infection yan sa simula, di ba? Sabihin natin yung infection of the surgical site. Ibilangin nyo, lahat ng naoperahan over a period of time. Again, that has to be based on related date, no? It's not arbitrary. How many of them develop infection, wound infection? That's incidence. Okay? So lahat sila, titingnan nyo, if over a period of, let's just say, 7 days, sila na nag-develop ng infection. So this is the formula, total number of cases at a given time, divided by the denominator is total population examined. You should have examined the individual for you to consider this person as with or without. Yung merong with, nasa numerator. Pero dun sa hospital admission, I remember giving this lecture dun sa isang class, tapos may mga hospital directors sa akin. Mali pa rin statistics ko nakapost sa bulletin board ko. Tinawag yung prevalence ng mga admissions niya. Pero you didn't examine the others, di ba? Whether they have the condition of interest. So here, the prevalence is 5/20, which is, ano siya sa atin kanina? Rate, ratio, or proportion? It's a proportion. So prevalence is a proportion. Yung iba, nag-specify pa, prevalence proportion. But because the formula is already a proportion, you don't have to indicate prevalence proportion. Just say it's prevalence. Alright? It's a proportion. 5/20. So the prevalence of diabetes in this population is 25%. Okay, let's now go to incidence. Incidence refers to the number of new cases of disease in a defined population during a specified period of time. In other words, you're interested in identifying the number of cases that develop during the observation. So there's a longitudinal component. When you say longitudinal component, there's a follow-up time. So the formula is number of cases of a disease over a period of time divided by the population at risk during the same period. But please take note that you have to observe people who are at risk. For example, gusto nyo lang isang disease and there's a vaccine and the person is vaccinated, hindi na siya at risk, right? Okay, so yun yung sasabi mo sa dati, masyado man taking question nyo. But actually, it's common sense. Why will you follow up a person who is immune already to find out if he will develop the disease? Okay? So you usually would exclude from incidence studies those who are no longer at risk of disease. Who are no longer at risk of disease? Those people, if the disease has immunity, if the disease confers immunity at first infection, hindi na siya pwede magkasama, hindi natin kasama. Or if pinaka-extreme, if you're going to do a study on cervical cancer, hindi natin kasama yung mga lalaki, kasi wala naman silang cervix. They are not at risk of developing cervical cancer. So, doon na lang yung pinaka-extreme na example ko. So, hindi natin sasama yung they do not have any chance of developing the disease. Because what we want to find out is ano yung speed of developing the disease among people without the disease at the start and during a particular period of time. So here, we know the prevalence. What's the incidence? We went to the community of 20 people. We examined each and every one, and we found that 5 of them have diabetes. What's the incidence? Five over 15 is your ratio. Incidence, if you want to find out gaano kadami ang nagkaroon ng sakit. a certain period of time? Okay, the answer is, it cannot be determined. Because sabi natin, for instance, tricky question. If you want to determine incidence, you have to follow up a group of people. So this is a one-time shot, a one-time survey. Pumunta ka lang, tinignan mo, examine mo. So you cannot determine incidence. Kasi sabi natin, incidence requires a longitudinal component. We have to follow up a group of disease-free individuals during a specified period and to find out how many of these disease-free individuals move to the disease state during the observation period. So given that in this example, kung tayo sa isang population of 20 people, examine them, one point in time, then there's no way we can determine the incidence. So that's a very common mistake. So many studies presented during research fora or even in some publications, incidence down, pero it's actually so if you want prevalence, what will you do? Like if you want incidence in this population, what will you do? Follow up who? Follow up very good. Follow up the 15 people without the disease and assuming no, all of them are at risk. Because as I said, we have to remove those who are no longer at risk for reason of vaccination or prior infection that has conferred permanent immunity. So this is how you are going to do it. Segregate the disease-free individuals, the 15, and then follow them up from time X to time Y. And then count how many of the 15 moved from disease-free to disease state. In this example, how many are they? 3. So what is the incidence now? You have now the values for the data to compute for the incidence. Numerator is 3, denominator is 15. Very good. So it's number of disease-free individuals is your denominator or number at risk of developing the disease. So it's 20%. Alright, so it's 20%. Alright? Now, the last bullet there says, incidence is synonymous to risk of disease. So if you want, for like your research objective is to determine the risk of occupational disease X, then that will then be implies that we're going to do an incidence study. And your incidence measure is equal to the risk of developing the disease. So in this example, earlier, 20%, it means that the risk of developing disease from time X to time Y is 20%. Okay? Okay so far? Okay. Now, incidence can be computed for both fixed population and dynamic population. Fixed population, you need to say the individuals in the population being observed are observed uniformly for the entire duration of the follow-up time for the study. As in this particular case, from month 1 to month 12, you followed up 12 individuals, and how many of them developed the disease? 7. So your incidence is 58% per year. This is 1 year. You have to specify the time. Kasi 15 per year is different from 15 per decade, right? So it is really important to indicate the time. So it's 58. The assumption here is the entire population at least is followed up for the same period of time. Now what happens if, this is the same, baka marito kayo. Meron na siyang X because that's the time when disease occurred. So hindi mo na siya i-follow up at the end. There are two ways of doing it. You can monitor them regularly so that you can detect the onset of the disease. So they have different onsets during the 12-month or the 1-year follow-up, right? That's possible. Or you can do it on at the end of the follow-up time and then examine all of them. So this is still considered a fixed population. Kaya wala na siyang line kasi hindi mo na siya i-observe for the next few months kasi nag-develop na yung disease. Nandun na yung outcome of interest. Okay. But it's not always feasible to study a fixed population. The reality is they would enter at the same time, but they may belong to follow-up. They may enter at different points, but they would have common termination points. Or they enter at different points, terminate at different points. So, parang tatlong scenarios ang nangyayari. Ano gagawin natin? Tatapon na lang ba natin yung data? Hindi. There's a way to still determine the disease frequency. For example, here, this is scenario 1. You were able to assemble all of them, but some of them were lost to follow up, even before they developed the disease. Scenario 2, they enter at different points, even if you were able to record of them at the end of the follow-up period. And the next scenario is, they enter at different points, and they terminate at different points. Hindi natin maiwasan yan. Meron sa sagasaan ng trail. Hindi natin alam kung naguloy siya, makakasakit ba siya o hindi, right? So, this is an example of a dynamic population. So, in this scenario, it is not appropriate to use the incidence formula divided by the proportion. Instead, we use the rate. So, if your population is fixed, you use the proportion for computing your incidence. If your population is dynamic, just like these three scenarios, you will use the rate. So, alala niyo yung rate. Ang denominator na ay person time of observation. So, notice the formula for incidence rate. Incidence rate, siguro nung nag-medicine kayo, those na, nagbasa ng mga libro, used to be called incidence density. Pero confusing kasi siya. So, mas simple, incidence rate, pagka fixed population, incidence proportion pagka fixed ang population, incidence rate pagka dynamic ang population. Dynamic again, follow-up time varies. Fixed follow-up time is uniform for all those observed. So I already gave you the formula for computing person time, which is the sum of the individual's time at risk, or the sum of the time that each person remained under observation. This is if you know the amount of time for each one being observed. In reality, sa community studies lang, hindi mo naman alam kung gaano lang nagtagal. So, we just estimate the person time. Estimate, yung totoo talaga person time is yung sum of individual follow-up. But if you do not know the individual, you just estimate by using the formula, product of the size of the average population and the length of follow-up period. Ito yung sabi natin, di ba? Case 1, sum natin. Pero pag hindi natin alam, ano sabi natin? Person time is the sum of the product rather of the average time of follow-up, average population times the length of follow-up. So for example, you're observing the beginning of the observation, that's 700 people. At the end of the follow-up period, 500 na lang sila. 120. And then you had 400 people who developed the disease. Your intended observation is for 4 years. how long each one was observed. So, ang gagawin natin, i-estimate na lang natin yung person time. So, what's the average population beginning and end? Sa end, 520, sa beginning, 700. Pag in-average natin, divided by 2. And then multiply that by the length of follow-up for the study, which is 4 years. And that gives us 2,440. So the incidence rate is, our numerator is the same because its incidence is number of new cases, which is 400, divided by 2,440. That gives us an incidence rate of 16.3 per 100 person years of observation. Right? Question? So, incidence is the fundamental measure for epidemiologic studies since they are direct indicators of risk of disease over a period of time. High incidence of disease is synonymous with high risk of disease. Now, siguro to understand the difference between the incidence proportion and the incidence rate, bigyan ko kayo ng example na kahit na ako mag-lecture siya. And I find it useful to supplement understanding of the concept. Sana wala dito yung doktor na nag-present. Okay, kung nandito kasi mag-present lang. Ang study niya, to assert, is a national competition of a specialty group, medical specialty surgical. So, ang assert is one of the candidates. Ang present yung data was the incident, ang hinahanap niya is incidence of abdominal hernia as a side effect of breast reconstruction. Breast reconstruction. So, ilan sa mga babae who underwent breast reconstruction develop abdominal hernia. So, hindi ko na maalala yung number. Let's just say 35 lahat ng women. And sinabi niya, 5 developed abdominal hernia. So 5 divided by 35, so na-present yung incidence as a proportion. So ang question ko sa kanya, sir, saan ang galing yung mga critical cases? Sabi niya, ma'am, pasyente ko. Sabi ko, so inumpagahan niyo sila lahat ng 35, and how long was the observation? What did the literature say with respect to the occurrence of abdominal hernia? On the average, how long does it appear following breast reconstruction? Sabi ma'am, 2 years. Sabi ko, okay, so did you observe all the 35 women for 2 years? And, ay, ma'am, hindi, kasi nag-end ako, let's just say, ngayon ng conference. Nag-end ako ma'am noong March, kasi nag-prepare na ako ng paper for presentation today. Sabi ko, so when did you operate on this last woman that you observed until March? Sabi ko na, on December. So how long did he observe that last woman he operated on? 3 months. Eh, ang hypothesis niya, or ang time, is 2 years. So, sabi ko, nag-abdominal hernia ko ba? Hindi. So, it's misleading. Because it gives us the impression that 5 women developed abdominal hernia out of 35 who were observed. But one was observed for the entire, 2 years. Kasi nga, nagsimula siya. Nag-opera siya 1 month later, hindi naman siya kasi araw-araw nag-opera, tapos nag-assemble na yan, konting differential lang. Hindi. So, do you think that's a valid conclusion that 5 out of 35 developed abdominal hernia? No, di ba? Speaking siya, kasi hindi naman nila observe all of them for the entire at least period, which is based on the literature, 2 years. So, pointed it out, the other countries pointed it out, niya. But that was what the biostatistician told me. Okay, mali yun ha. You do not say that when you have a research paper, kasi pangalan mo yun. So when you write a research paper, a research report, and you are the author, you're accountable for everything there. Period, comma, kung ano man doon meron po. Yes, you can consult a biostatistician, epidemiologist, a research medicine expert. Pero intindihin mo kasi naman ko continue na ito. Okay? So, nasaan siya? Sabi namin, sir, hindi naman yan, baka hindi naman yan pwede mo itatapon. Compute kayo na incidence rate. Alam niyo naman kung gaano katagal yung isang woman observe, you add, and then use that as your denominator. Do not use the 35. So, magagamit mo pa rin yun. So, tutukan yung difference ng incidence proportion at incidence rate. With that example, hopefully mas malinaw mo. So, yung mga, yun ang in-advise sa akin, hindi pwede yun na you have to be accountable for compensability. Meron pa isa. Sa DOH naman yun, nag-school ko rin sa measure of association. Sabi niya, nagtanong naman ako, ano yung sinabi sa akin advice? Nandun yung undersecretary ng training officer ng fellowship. Then you're going to feel this training. Talagang umiyak siya sa harap ng duty nga ako. So, ginawa ko yung trabaho ko eh. Panelist ako, ulit ako eh. Na hindi tama yung kanyang na measure. So, hindi talaga pwede. Huwag nyo gamitin yung pinonsort nyo na nasangkalan nyo na mali yung presentation. Just want to say, why okay? Modify, etc. Anyway, lumayo na naman ako. It's just to differentiate between incidence proportion and incidence rate. Okay, exercise na tayo sa today. So, there are 100 individuals, all of them were free of disease X. Disease X is the disease of interest. They were all followed up from 1981 to 1983, and 20 of them developed the disease. Right? And the disease experience, the duration of disease of the 20 are found in the graph. So the line there represents the duration of illness of the 20 people. 20 lang yung times. Okay, each line represents the duration of illness of the 20. These were the, these were the 20 out of the 100. Alright? With the disease. I have those lines there just to indicate beginning of 1981, end of 1981, beginning of 1982, end of 1982, beginning of 1983, and end of 1983. Okay, question. What is the annual incidence of the disease? And I'm referring to the year 1981. What is the annual incidence of disease? Incidents, cases that develop during the period. How many? 9 out of 100. So the incident is 9 out of 100. So this is what? A proportion or a rate? It's a proportion because all of them in the case scenario, in the description, were observed for the entire duration of the trial. Alright. What is the type of incidence? Type of incidence. Incidence proportion, right? Okay, next question. What is the 3-year incidence of the disease? 3-year incidence of the disease. 20 out of 100, very good. So that's the incidence of the disease. Okay, what type of incidence is that? Incidence proportion pa rin. What is the prevalence of the disease at the end of 1981? At the end of 1981. Don't forget that the line here indicates the duration of illness. Simula magkasakit, and the right end is the end of the illness. How many? 5, very good. So, you go to the community at this time, ang may sakit ay 5. Yung nag-drop ang line, right? Kasi, hindi na nabibilang yung isang maliit kasi hindi naman siya nagkasakit hanggang end of 1981. So, prevalence is who have existing disease at that particular calendar time. So, it's 5 lang. Okay. Next question, what is the prevalence of disease at the beginning of 1983? The beginning of 1983, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. 6. Okay? So 6 over 100. Assuming buhay sila lahat. Kasi pwede rin namang may namatay na. And finally, what is the incidence of the disease at the beginning of 1981? 0 means nobody developed the disease. Is it 0? Cannot be determined. Because 0 means you observe the population and nobody developed the disease. But you cannot compute for the incidence without a tally of that. Okay? At the beginning of 1981, you had 100 people.
1983, 1981.
You observe, sila lahat, piliin mo sila eh. Sila yung walang sakit.
Parang ito daw.
Because your interest is incidence. That does
Ay, hindi.
not
Yung total na sa
necessarily mean
1981
na sila yung
Nine.
develop. Okay? So,
9.
incidence cannot be determined.
Nine.
Iba yung cannot be determined sa 0. 0 means nobody developed the disease among those that you observe. So dito you cannot
Total
determine.
20 daw.
You have to have a time interval.
Haba.
Okay, very good. So that's the difference between prevalence and incidence. Malinaw na ba yung difference ng dalawa? And then the difference between incidence proportion and incidence rate. Malinaw na po? Are there any questions before I move on to the next topic, which is measures of appreciation? Okay, don't see a hand. Ay, yes, ma'am. Ikaw.
More examples for incidents and prevalence.
More examples of prevalence and incidence. Sige. So let's say I want to study the prevalence of ano bang common relation? Ano na lang? Sleep deprivation. Okay. Problem with sleep or internet addiction, Facebooking. Okay. So kung gusto kong gawin yun ngayon, I will have to ask each and every one of you whether or not you have internet addiction, and of course, I will have to define what that is. No? Pero hindi na natin mausapan yung mga indicators. So let's say I find that 50% of you have internet addiction or social media addiction. Okay, that's an example of a prevalence measure. Binilang ko how many of you have the condition of interest. If I want to determine incidence of internet addiction, I will have to first find out how many of you, okay, yung 50% sa inyo ang walang internet addiction. Okay, and then I will follow you up for a period of time, let's say 1 year. So you are 50% ang may internet addiction, ilan ang natitira? Kalahati ng 52, 26. Okay? So I will follow up the 26 for 1 year, and at the end of 1 year, I will find out how many of them have problems with internet addiction. Let's say 50% then, 50% of the 26. That's an incidence measured part. So ang pagkakaiba ng prevalence is, at this point in time, I will find out how many of you have the disease existing cases of a particular disease. I don't know whether you are new cases or not. That's not my interest. I just want to find out whether you have it or you do not have it. Whether you developed it 10 years ago or whether you developed it just yesterday. Basta what I will do is just to count how many existing cases there are in a population. That's another example. Okay? Who has done studies on prevalence incidence? You might want to share. Okay, I'll share my study on, this is a study on the prevalence of limited health literacy. It was a nationwide study. So we randomly selected from the entire country a sample of 2,300 respondents, 15 years old and above. We administered the instrument to assess their level of health literacy, and then based on 46 questions, based on their score, they were classified as with limited health literacy or with adequate health literacy. And the result was 51.7 of the 2,303 had limited health literacy. So that's prevalent, because we only interviewed the person one time. We visited them at home, we assessed whether they have limited health literacy or not. That's prevalence. I cannot get the incidence given the methodology where we only saw them once to find out the level of health literacy. If I want to determine the incidence of health literacy, then I would have to identify those with adequate health literacy. Tapos tingnan ko kung makakaroon ng limited. Although that's counterintuitive kasi may level na ng literacy ng But the message is, you need to follow up for you to assess or determine incidence. Doctora? Okay. Any other question? Yes, Predictive of the, well, it depends on your objective. If your objective, naiwasan purposes ma'am. Yung incidence, if you want to determine risk of disease. So risk of developing disease, you have no choice but to do incidence study. But if you just want to quantify how many people have the condition, then that's prevalent. So it depends on your objective. In terms of causation, mas predictive yung incidence. And actually, siya yung ginagamit as we're going to discuss later on. If you want to determine whether a certain factor influences a certain outcome, you have to measure incidence of the disease among the exposed. Kasi kung prevalence lang, you cannot establish cause-effect relationship kasi wala silang temporal sequence. Dapat kasi, the factor influences a certain outcome, the outcome will follow the factor, or the factor is followed by the outcome. Hindi pwede, sabay lang silang present sa isang tao. Okay. Any other question? Yes, sir? Doc?
Is there a higher value amount to use the incidence proportion?
The incidence proportion is definitely better. Yes, because the incidence rate is just an estimate. Hindi mo kasi nakikita talaga yung actual na risk. Pero pwede siyang gamitin, hindi naman. But you just have to be careful about your conclusion. We're not talking about number of people who develop among these population size. It has to be expressed in terms of population time. Parang average ang lumalabas. Any other question? Okay, I don't see any hands, so we can proceed to the next topic. Okay. The concept of prevalence and incidence should be very clear now because we will make use of them when we talk about measures of association. So we will describe the framework for measuring association, perform simple calculations of measures of association, and interpret measures of association. So this is the framework for calculating measures of association. Bakit tayo nagka-calculate ng measures of association? This is if your interest is to identify determinants of disease. This is if you want to find out if a certain factor is associated with a certain outcome. If you want causal relationship, then you would have to compute for the measure of association because it will tell you whether an association exists or not. So the framework is a contingency table, or it's also more popularly known as the 2x2 table, where you have the cells A, A, B, C, D. So this means you have to tabulate, cross-tabulate the presence of the factor and the absence of the factor in your population, as well as the presence or the absence of the disease of interest. So what is cell A? N here is your total sample size. A here, cell A here represents what? Those people with the factor who have the disease. Okay. Cell B, it represents the number of people with the factor but they do not have the disease. C, they do not have the factor but they have the disease. And D, they do not have the factor and they do not have the disease. Okay, so that's the notations for those groups of people. So when you have two variables, disease factor and disease, and you have two categories for each, your members can only be classified into four, right? Wala na ibang pupuntahan. If you're looking at presence or absence of disease and presence or absence of the factor, apat na grupo lang ang kanilang pupuntahan. Either A, B, C, or D. So, saan magagaling yung data na ipakast natin in a 2x2 table? You would have something like this. Like almost meaning to say, divided into two categories. So, let's say you have a study unit, an individual. You want to find out if variable or factor X is present. So, you have individual 1 has the factor, also has the disease. So, saan natin i-count, itatali si number 1? Cell A, B, C, or D? A, very good. What about number 2? A. What about number 3? C. What about number 4? C pa rin. What about number 5? D. What about number 6? C. What about number 7? Sorry? Boy. They have the factor, but they do not have the disease. Good. Okay? So, yan yung pagagalingan niya. If you want to find out whether X and Y are associated or causally associated, you should have data about each of these factors, X and Y, for every study unit. And you will be able to cast the data in a 2x2 table. So what are the different measures of association in epidemiology? We have the risk ratio or the relative risk. I'm sure you've heard of this. Then you have the odds ratio and the prevalence ratio. Now, use of these measures depends on the study design. So if you're doing a cohort study, you will compute for the risk ratio or the relative risk. If you're using a case control study, it's the odds ratio. Don't worry about that. We're going to discuss those designs further. Now, what I'm just saying is, there is an appropriate measure disease frequency for every study design. So, for cohort, the formula is A over A plus B divided by C over C plus D. For odds ratio, it's A over C divided by B over D. Do you have the values right in your copy? Sorry about this. Nasisira siya sa amin. And then your prevalence ratio is the same formula as your risk ratio. Anong difference nila? For prevalence ratio, this is prevalence data. For risk ratio, this is what? Ano sabi natin? Anong measure ng risk? Incidence. So you're computing for incidence in, when you compute for risk ratio, you're actually computing for the incidence. And then, for prevalence, then you're using prevalence ratio, then you're using prevalence data. Okay, so how do you interpret sabi ko? Based on the computed measure with the relative risk, odds ratio, prevalence ratio, you will know whether X and Y are associated or not. And your basis will be, wala akong whiteboard. Do you have whiteboard? Ito. If the measure of association is equal to 1, association is absent. If the measure of association is not equal to 1, then association is present. Okay, why are we using the magic number 1 as basis for our conclusion? Let's go back to the formula. The formula for this ratio is A over A plus B. Incidence of, incidence, look at the 2 by 2 table. What is A over A plus B? That's the incidence of disease among those with a factor or among those exposed. Good. And C plus D. C over C plus D is the incidence of disease among the unexposed to the factor. Okay? So, let's look at lung cancer and smoking and lung cancer. Factor is smoking, disease is lung cancer. If the incidence of disease among lung cancer among the smokers is the same as the incidence of lung cancer among the non-smokers, that means your numerator and your denominator are equal, right? A over A plus B is the count of people who have the factor, who are smokers, who develop lung cancer. C over C plus D is C plus D is the total number of people unexposed, right? C plus D is the total number of people who are not exposed to the factor. So C is the number of unexposed who develop the disease. So if pareho lang sila, walang kinalaman pala ang smoking. Kasi yung dami ng nanigarilyo na nagka-lung cancer ay pareho lang dun sa dami ng hindi nanigarilyo na nagka-lung cancer. So it's a ratio. So if your numerator and denominator are the same, then your value is equal to 1. And that's why we're using the magic number 1 as basis for saying that an association exists or it does not exist. Alright? Okay, so far question. Please do not hesitate to raise your hand if you have any clarification or points you want to be clarified about. Okay, so far. Now, so that's true for the relative risk, the odds ratio, and the prevalence ratio. Now, for relative risk and risk ratio and odds ratio, pwede pa kayong mag-identify ng nature of associations. You don't just say an association exists. But if an association exists, meaning to say the OR or the RR are not equal to 1. Pwede natin sabihin na this factor siya is greater than 1 or protective factor siya is less than 1. Kailan tayo magkakaroon ng value na greater than 1? Look at the numerator denominator. Kailan tayo magkakaroon ng value na greater than 1? Kung mas mataas yung correct. Now, if your numerator is a bigger number than your denominator, like 10 divided by 5, then that's equal to 2. That's greater than 1. Ibig sabihin, mas marami yung numerator, mas marami yung incidence of lung cancer among the smokers compared to the number of lung cancer cases among the non-smokers. So, aside from saying there is an association, you can answer the question, what is the nature of the association? It is, the factor is a risk factor. It increases the likelihood of occurrence of disease. So smoking is a risk factor. On the other hand, if your measure of association is less than 1, kailan tayo magka-less than 1? Mas malaki yung value ng denominator. Mas marami yung may sakit sa walang exposure. So then you say that the exposure is protective, beneficial siya. So pag effective ang bakuna, then you would expect that the vaccinated would have less number of people with the disease compared to the unvaccinated. So numerator denominator lang yun. So that's for RR and OR only. No? You cannot assess risk factor, protective factor based on prevalence ratio. I'm going to explain that. Alright? Ito na yun. So that's an example. Can you compute for the relative risk or risk ratio? What will you get? Risk ratio, incidence of disease among, and incidence of lung cancer among the smokers. That's your numerator. Your denominator is incidence of lung cancer among the non-smokers. Are you ready with your answer? What is it equal to? 4, 4, 4. That's correct. The risk ratio is equal to 4. So, is there an association between smoking and lung cancer? Yes or no? Yes. And is smoking a risk factor or a protective factor? It's a risk factor. I think they're all fine. What about this one? This is looking at exercise and MI. What is the RR equal to? 0.25, the rest? Ganun ulit. Compute for the RR. What's the incidence of MI among those who exercise? Divided by the incidence of MI among those who do not exercise. What's it equal to? 0.25? 0.25, 0.25, may iba ba? 0.5, sir? Sige, let's see. So our numerator is 20 over 100. Numerator is 20 over 100, that's 20%, right? So incidence is 20%. What's our denominator? What's the incidence of MI among those who do not exercise? 80 over 100. So divide 20 by 80, 20% by 80%, you get 125. Okay na, sir? So the relative risk is 0.25. Question, is there an association between exercise and MI? Yes or no? Yes. What is the nature of the association? It's protective. You need to see if you have the factor, if you exercise, you are less likely to have MI. Okay, so those with the factor are X times more likely. So in the case of smoking and lung cancer, let's interpret. So we substitute, this is the proper interpretation. We substitute the X. So, ano naman what is smoking and lung cancer for? So those with the factor, those who smoke are 4 times more likely to develop lung cancer compared to those who do not smoke. Okay? For the exercise and MI, how do we interpret that? Those who exercise are less likely to develop the outcome compared to those without the factor. Okay, but you have to be careful, it's not 0.25 times likely. And I will explain that in the chapter. We just say it's less. Because the value less than 1 is not interpretable. Except to say that it is protective. But how much is the protection, we discuss it later. Okay? So, with the measure of association, you can tell whether association is present or not. If it is present and it's a relative risk and an odds ratio that you have computed, then you can tell whether it's a risk factor or it's a protective factor. So these are the very important information. Parang ang dami lang, okay, may conclusion ako lang. Pero it requires you to develop your methodology to collect your data, ensure that there are no biases or errors in your classification of people. Doon ang challenge eh. Classifying people as with factor or without factor, or with disease and without disease. Yeah. Meron pala ako dito. For protective factors, sabi ko we don't say 0.25 times less likely. We get the reciprocal. How do you get the reciprocal? 1 over RR or 1 over OR. So can you get the reciprocal of 0.25? It's 4. So anong sasabihin natin ngayon? Sino ngayon nakaka-risk? Sabi natin, if you exercise, you are protected. So what is the risk of MI among those who do not exercise? Is the reciprocal. 1 over 0.25 is equal to 4. So you then say that those who do not exercise are 4 times more likely to have MI compared to those who exercise. Alright? Question? I think that's the last slide. Are there any questions on measures of association? If there are no questions, we still have time to spend the 10 minutes. We still have a break. Konti lang ang questions kasi eh. So natapos na ng mabilis. Yes,
So,
Doc.
you would be discussing why the prevalence ratio
Cannot be.
about the value of the association.
Yes po.
Yes, no.
So, bakit siya walang kasamang PR? Okay. Because when you design a prevalence study, you are looking at the existing number of people with the disease and existing number of people with the factor. In other words, you are looking at the presence of both the exposure and the factor in your study participant at the same point in time. So, if they coexist, you don't know which of them preceded or followed the other. In other terms, in prevalence, you do not have the proper temporal sequence, because the proper temporal sequence is one of the requirements for causal association. Kailangan mauna yung isa, sumunod yung isa. But if you, okay, I will give an example. Let's say study on the relationship between obesity and osteoarthritis of the knee. If you're going to get the prevalence of osteoarthritis and the prevalence of obesity, ngayon, gagawin ko isa-isa, obese, not obese, with osteoarthritis of the knee, without osteoarthritis of the knee. And do that for each one. Now, if I find an association greater than, not equal to 1, I cannot say that it's the obesity that led to the development of osteoarthritis, because I only see these two conditions present at the same point in time. So that's the disadvantage of the cross-sectional type of study. It's limited in its ability to establish cause-effect relationship. Coexistence na, you can say that there's an association, but you cannot talk of the association being risk and protective. Okay, so prevalence kasi, you see the condition as it exists in the person at the same time that the other condition also exists. Whereas in incidents, wala siyang sakit, ipa-follow up natin siya, and then the person develops disease. So we have the incidence measured. Clear ang temporal sequence. Exposure happened, then disease developed. Now, odds ratio is for case control. So, in case control naman yung retrospective naman yun. Pero in a case control study, it's designed in such a way that while you start with people who have lung cancer, you will have to accurately assess history of exposure to the factor. You want to find out before you were diagnosed with lung cancer, were you a smoker? And you have to establish, the question is not that easy, no? You have to establish what we call the reference point. If the hypothesized response time from exposure to a factor to development of disease is 20 years, then you have to define. You talk to the person with lung cancer and ask him a question whether from the time he was diagnosed with lung cancer, nanigarilyo ba siya 20 years earlier? So, dinidefine yun. So, even if it is not a prospective study, case control study where you compute for the odds ratio is still longitudinal. In a way, because you still try to determine whether the exposure preceded the outcome. Except that you're studying a group of people who already have it. So, doon sa osteoarthritis yung sinabi ko, prevalence yung sinabi ko kanina, ngayon, alam niyo kung obese with arthritis, with osteoarthritis. If I want to establish causal link between obesity and osteoarthritis, I'm going to employ a prospective study. I will identify a group of people who are obese, who do not have osteoarthritis before me. And I will follow them up over a period of time. Again, the period is based on literature review. We have, on the average, how long does it take for a person to develop osteoarthritis from being obese. Yan ay based on patterns and trends ng mga distribution of disease. So I now have this group of people. Meron akong incidence of osteoarthritis of the knee among the obese. Then I would have to have a comparison group. Rather than to compare the I would have a group of non-obese people. I also follow them up for the same period of time to find out whether they will develop osteoarthritis of the knee. That is prospective study. So clearly, you are able to observe as a researcher the movement of people from being free of the disease but exposed to the factor to the development of the disease.
Paano mababawa yung development ng osteoarthritis? Assuming na wala pa siya doon is
So in follow-up time, that's a very good question. Then you have to do a study to identify, parang ang tawag natin na descriptive na. You have to do a study among people with osteoarthritis of the knee and then find out kung sila ba yung gaano katagal. Sila nagkaroon ng osteoarthritis of the knee before, gaano sila katagal obese bago sila nag-develop ng osteoarthritis of the knee. So you have to do a two-step process, two steps in research mo. Descriptive ko muna, describe mo muna yung average time from being obese to development of osteoarthritis of the knee. But usually, pagka gano'n, Nobel Prize din kasi wala kang magawa sa buong mundo. So, you just have to exhaust the literature, international or local, para mahanap yun. Pero kung sa question niyo, sir, kung talagang wala, gagawin mo. Hindi ka tutuloy sa isang study na mag-follow, hindi mo alam kung paano mo siya mag-develop. Tested din sa breast surgery, breast reconstruction and abdominal. Meron siyang hila sa literature, 2 years, and that's why he did study for 2 years. 2 years yung kanyang study, pero hindi naman i-observe lahat ng women who were underwent breast reconstruction for the entire at-risk period. Kailangan at-risk period na. Kasi nga, may chance pa man sila, di ba? I-report mo na walang abdominal hernia yung bunga na yun. Pero, hindi serious yun at 2 years, it's still possible na magkakaroon ko siya ng third degree. Hintayin ko ba yun di matagal? Hindi mo hintayin, pero kung use for the day. To account for the time of follow-up of the people in the dynamic. Any other questions? Yes? No?
Ma'am, in relation to the question earlier of Dr. Jones, in what way does cross-sectional and prevalence ratio still be a measure of association?
And not causation. Association po, sir, kasi mapipill up mo pa rin yung 2 by 2 table, sir.
Yes.
So you will still be able to fill up this 2 by 2 table. Osteoarthritis, obesity ang ating factor. Osteoarthritis is din yung ating disease. So, for me to accomplish that, to fill that up, examine mo isa-isa. So, paano ito ang mangyayari? Yan. Obese with osteoarthritis is din ngayon. One time ko lang i-assess yung both factors. Both variables rather. The obesity status and osteoarthritis obesity status. So pag sa ganito, pag meron akong data na to, I can cast it in a 2 by 2 table and I can compute for the measure of association, which is the prevalence ratio. Pero, careful ako, hindi ako magsasabi, if I find an association, hindi ako magsasabi na obesity is a risk factor for osteoarthritis obesity. Kasi hindi ko naman nakita na nag-develop yung osteoarthritis obesity as a result of the obesity. Kasi pareho silang nandoon. Pwede namang nauna na yung osteoarthritis obesity bago siya naging obese. Hindi na nga siya makalakad, kaya kain na rin siya kain. So it can be a reverse causality. So dangerous yung, if you do not see, if you are not able to establish the proper temporal sequence, it's possible na may reverse causality. Baka nga nauna pa yung disease kaysa dun sa exposure that you are studying. I hope I answered your question, sir.
There is association, but it cannot establish.
Right, correct. Yes, there is an association. They coexist. Para, okay, to give you another example. Yung isang bata sa itong kwento, yung isang bata sa may nanay niya sa aeroplano. Sabi niya sa nanay niya, I wish they didn't turn on the seatbelt sign so much. Every time they do, it gets bumpy. So ano nakita ng bata? Anong nag-cause ng bumps? The switching on and off of the seatbelt sign. But associated siya, if you do statistical analysis, if you record, on, seatbelt sign on, positive, bumps. Tignan natin, para mas, dito. Okay? So, variable natin is turning on and off of the seatbelt sign. Parang nagkakasabay eh. Pag nag-on ang seatbelt sign, may bumps. Pag nag-off, walang bumps. Perfect correlation yun. Kung hindi nagkamali yung piloto at talagang nagawa niya insakto. Okay? But, is the seatbelt sign the cause of the bumps? No. Ano kaya ang nag-cause ng bumps? It's something else. It's the turbulence. It's the turbulence. So, yun yung danger na yun. Pwede pa ibang dahilan kung bakit siya associated. Yung isa ko na sabi sa inyo kanina, universe causality is another possible explanation. Baka nauna nga talaga yung outcome bago yung exposure. Tapos, or, ito pangalawang example ko, ang cause naman is another factor na pareho yung may connection dun sa X and Y mo. Kasi ang turbulence, konektado sa seatbelt sign, right? At ang turbulence ay konektado sa bumps. So, yun yung sinasabi natin na hindi tayo mag-isip bata. Kasi yung isip bata is, titingnan lang niya kung correlated. Pero we are interested in a determinant. A determinant is a risk factor or a protective factor. It determines, it's present, it determines whether disease will develop or whether disease will not develop. As if our factor is the same, mga public health protective factors in vaccination. the supplementation. Sir, okay na po? Doc? Any other questions? Pag nagtatanong kayo, yan, mas naiintindihan niyo yung discussion. Meron lang nakakalitong part. Ibig sabihin you're following the discussion. So, mas nalilig ko dapat ito. Ano ba yan? So, wala na ba? Measures of disease frequency. So, let's just summarize. Ano yung measures of disease frequency natin? Prevalence and incidence. Ano difference nila? Prevalence, we're counting existing cases among the group of people that you examine. You have to examine them, ha? Because if you don't examine them, pumunta lang sa, pumunta sila sa isang medical mission. 100 people sa medical mission, pumunta sa medical mission. 50 sa kanila hypertension. Would you say that the prevalence of hypertension is 50%? No. Hindi nyo man i-examine yung mga residents ng area nila. So you did not define a certain population. You have to examine all of them, sila yung denominator nyo. Pag wala kayong appropriate denominator, hindi yung prevalence. Okay? Because 100 people who came to ask for medicine sa med-mission na may hypertension, does not mean that 50 out of 100 people have hypertension. Kasi hindi mo nakita yung iba, proportion lang yun. Hindi mo naman na-examine yung ibang hindi pumunta. Okay. Incidents, you're interested in new cases. When you say new cases, you have to have a reference period. Kasi parang sabihin niyo, hindi mo naman alam ko ano yung tinutukoy mo. So, there have to be new cases that occurred during a follow-up period. And you have to specify that follow-up period if you are talking about a fixed population. Okay? So, meron tayong incidence proportion at saka incidence rate. Okay? Incidence proportion, if you have examined all of them, and you have observed all of them for the same period of time, and then you can use the incidence proportion, where your numerator is the number of new cases that develop among those people you observed for the same period of time. If you cannot satisfy that denominator, then that means you are going to go for the incidence rate. And the difference between incidence proportion and incidence rate is just the denominator. Pareho lang sila na numerator, number of new cases that you develop. So, incidence rate, kung saan lang yung plastic surgery, yung may incidence rate. Okay? Measures of association, you compute the appropriate measure, whether this ratio, odds ratio, prevalence ratio, depending on your study design. We'll discuss the study designs after lunch. But the measure of association is computed using a continuum table, a two-way table. You have to accomplish a two-way table. And that means you have information on both variables, x and y, for each member of your study population. Okay? And then identify who among them have both the exposure, who among them do not have both the exposure and the outcome, how many of them do not have both exposure and the outcome, how many of them have the exposure and do not have the outcome, and how many of them do not have the exposure and do not have the outcome. A, B, C, D. And then, it's called a ratio, odds ratio, risk ratio, prevalence ratio, kasi you are dividing two numbers. The numerator for risk ratio is the incidence of disease in the exposed divided by incidence of disease in the unexposed. Unexposed to the factor, we're talking about exposure to the factor. And then you have the prevalence. Yes, we'll discuss the odds ratio later. Okay? Okay, so final question, if you have any. Otherwise, we wait for lunch. I'll turn over the phone to Doc Mark for Bert.
So,